All right, guys. Our next guest is a former UFC welterweight champion who is now fighting at middleweight and taking on the very dangerous Paulo Borrachinha at the ultra-stacked UFC 217. He is the big rig himself. Johny Hendricks, welcome back to Submission Radio. How are you today?
I'm doing great. You?
Well, we're doing very well, and thank you so much for taking the time for coming onto the program, because the big news is that we've seen you've made the big leap over to JacksonWinkeljohns for your training camp. Of course, this is significant because for a while now you've been your own sort of training camps and stayed away from the big camps. So tell us, Johny, how's the move been, and how have you enjoyed it so far?
No, I loved it, and I do love it. I think it's been... I want to do it on, I thought here in Texas, we have partners, but sometimes it's just hard to get partners. We're at Jackson's, it's, you have partners upon partners, and people who want to train nonstop. And that's, once I showed up, they opened their arms to me and we just started working. And that's sort of what I need. I need people that are going to push me. And, my coaches push me here, but I need the people as well. I need the partners. And it's so tough to beat a place like that when it comes to how many people they have. And not only that, but how many big guys they have that I'm able to work out with. The first day I showed up, I sparred 6 different people, and there's still 4 people that wanted to go, but class was over. So it's sort of a different vibe.
Yeah, that's great. That's very encouraging. Just wondering, why now? Of all the times, obviously, you're talking about the partners, but when did you first decide that, look, I'm not getting the right partners or I'm not getting enough partners? When did this sort of tick over in your mind, and when did you make this big decision?
Well, you know what? It started about a year and a half ago. It just turned hard to get partners to come in and train. I could find boxers, but MMA is a little bit different than boxing. The distance, and where to move your head, and those kind of things, and where you're safe and where you're not, because you can throw kicks. And after that last fight, that was sort of the straw that I was just like, you know what? I got to get people. I got to get more than just one look. And my coach was telling me, hey, go try a couple of camps out. And, we talked to Winkeljohn, and he said, sure, come on out, try it out. And I did. And after the first day, I was like, I knew that's where from here on out, that's where I'll be training. Let's just say that. Now I'm going to still train here in Texas because I can't leave my family for that long, right? But I plan on doing majority of my camp out in New Mexico.
And I mean, obviously very difficult to prepare for fights if you don't have the proper training partners. If you did go to JacksonWinkeljohns, a few fights ago, do you think it would have had a big effect on your last few performances? Do you think it would have been a little bit of a different Johny Hendricks that we would have seen?
Oh yeah. Just because working with Jackson for one has been, working with Winkeljohn. I've been doing. You're sitting there, you're playing. You're doing stuff, and whenever you're doing these things, having somebody who understands the MMA game, and not only that, but just thinking of how many people has he worked with, that he's sort of, I feel like it's time for me to rebuild my career. And after talking to Jackson and Winkeljohn, we have a pretty solid game plan that I sort of wanted to try to build. I wanted to do it, but I didn't know how because we didn't have the partners to push me. Does that make sense? And without getting too much into what we're working on, but they saw me, they looked at me, and they said, this is what we can make you. And I said, let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds exactly what you want to hear. Was there any consideration to go to any other big camps? I mean, these days there's so many. There's ATT, there's AKA, there's King's MMA. Why specifically Jackson Winkeljohns? Was it their reputation? Was it sort of a geographical convenience? What ultimately made you want to go there? And did you try any others, or did you go straight to Jackson's?
No, I didn't try any others. I thought about a couple of other ones, but
which ones? Which ones were you thinking about?
The Black Zillions and also AKA.
Mm-hmm.
But, I wanted to try Jackson's because one, it's the closest. And two, you look at what they've made, they've had a lot of guys. And not only that, but I've also been on the other side of Jackson and Winkeljohn.
Yeah.
So I sort of understand, I even told this about, whenever I was talking to them. One of the main reasons why I went there before anything else, because I listen whenever I'm fighting. I also listen, right? And I listen to what they're saying to their fighters, and I'm going, man, quit saying that, because I understand what you're trying to do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I see what you see, and now I'm going to have to counter that instead of just playing the regular game. And so I know what he can possibly do with me, and I'm willing to throw all my eggs in that basket. That's how much I believe in what he wants from me.
And obviously, so many big stars and great fighters coming from that gym. You've actually got, a past opponent in Carlos Condit there as well. What's it like being at the gym for you in terms of being around all these people, and how has it been being around Carlos and some of these other guys that you've known for a really long time in terms of fighters?
You know what? It's been great. This whole camp. I've been. I really don't go back, and Cowboys let me stay at hhis place.
Whoa.
Which is outside of town, but realistically, I'm not doing most of the time. I've been sitting there talking, listening to other fighters, sort of what they want to push me as well, and that's what's exciting, is that it's not only me that I'm thinking about, it's also those other guys. They want to see me do good because that's what they want.
Well, now that you brought it up, we have to find out, because we know Cowboy gets up to some pretty wild activities, some extreme sports. What's it like staying at his house?
It was fun. I love Cowboy. We've known each other for about 4 years now. And, we're both active. And what I mean by that is, after training, we always go and, he's always doing something. I'm always doing something at my house. He never sits still, and that's the same way it was out there. It was sort of relaxing to get to train and do things with him, because that's exactly how I like to train as well.
Do you guys do a whole lot of extreme activities or extreme sports? I mean, last time we spoke to him, he was going, I think, parachuting or something. Any crazy things that you guys have done by the lake or anything?
We haven't done anything by the lake because it's only 70 degrees right there, and at night it's 40 something. He said whenever the summer comes, we'll be hitting the lake. So more than anything, I've just been super excited about the whole process. I can't stress enough how the reason why it's hard to go to new gyms is because you're worried about what happens, right? You're worried about this and that and everything else. But the way that whenever I walked into that gym, the way it sort of went down, I'm super excited. That's why I've already said it, and I already told them on the second day. I said, I'm coming back. I'm going to be here. This is going to be my camp, from here on out.
Well, it's good timing, because you do have a very exciting fight, UFC 217. You take on a very dangerous Paulo Borrachinha. What was your reaction when you got him, and did you know much about him before you were scheduled to fight him?
No, they said, would you like to fight him? I said, sure. I don't know who he is. And that's just the way that it is that I'm not going to shy away from, because they say he's dangerous. He's never been tested, right? I'm going to test him. One thing I'm going to do is, I've seen most of his fights. He likes to bully people and sort of push them back. I'm not that type of fighter. So I'm sort of excited to see if he really sticks to what he's done in the past. That's where I do my best offense, is when a guy wants to come forward. That's one thing I think also with Jackson being there, I have opponents that move away from me, not just my boxing coach, right? I have opponents that are going to pressure me and move away. So I'm figuring out that style as well as people. In my last couple of fights, people, they don't want to get into a fist fight with me. They want to pick their shots. Well, this guy, if he wants to try to bully me like that, I'm so excited. For one, where I'm training at, that boosts my confidence. Two, the people that I'm training with is boosting my confidence. And three is that I know that style very well. It could be a short night for him if he wants to try to pressure me like that.
Is there sort of an opponent that you can compare him to? You say you know that style very well. Do you feel like there's someone that you faced before?
Yeah, Robbie Lawler.
Yeah.
Robbie Lawler. I mean, let's be honest. He's that type of fighter. He's a guy that's going to come forward and he's going to throw heavy hands. That's really what he is going to do. He's going to corral you. He's trying to get you to the cage. As soon as he does that, he's going to unleash. And that's sort of the same thing that Robbie does. He's going to throw power in the open, but he's also going to push you, get you to where he knows he can throw offense, because you're in a little bit of dangerous area, right? You have to get off the cage. So I've been down that road more than once. And I'm really excited for November 4th.
And there's a lot of things to be excited about in terms of that card. But obviously, Paulo's got, he's undefeated. He's got first-round finishes in all but one of his fights and has a lot of hype around him. So when you kind of look at this matchmaking and him being a young prospect, do you kind of get that feeling or that sense of the UFC is kind of trying to use you to build his name in this fight?
Or crush his name. It's however you want to look at it. Okay? You pick the poise. But one thing that Jackson has done for me, it's something that I haven't done in a very long time, is fight back. Had to bite down on the mouthpiece and fight back. And I got that. I'm getting that in New Mexico at Jackson Wings. That's one thing that I can say they're bringing it back out of me, and that's really what's important for me, is to get that back.
Well, it's great to see that obviously, you've got your confidence back, you've got a great team and great people around you. Just have to touch on this, Johnny. Obviously, in the last fight, the weight cutting and making weight didn't go your way, but you were kind enough to speak to us immediately afterwards, where you explained that you were actually really sick leading into the fight, something that a lot of people didn't know. How are you sort of feeling about the weight heading into this one? And is there anything new that you'll be doing, or do you feel like you'll be fine as long as there's no sickness or anything like that this time?
No, I've been working with the UFC nutritionist, so I'm working with people. I'm working with them. My weights, I'm going to try to hit under 200 this week, and then I'll be 3 weeks out from weigh-ins, having to lose. By the time I get there, my goal is to be right around 195, so he has an easy time with me. And those are all easy things to do. I've been eating a lot, been doing a lot of things differently, been running more, things that I'm not relying on other people about. Even though I'm working with the UFC on the nutrition side, I'm really on my own in a theory, right? Because I'm making sure that I do it. I've relied on other people, and it's time for me to say, hey, no, if I miss weight, it's because of me. And, you know, and that's what sucks too, is that, you know, these people, you get sick, you don't lose weight when you get sick. You know, your body holds on to everything. And not only that, but, you know, I was in good shape going into that fight, and it looked like I didn't train at all. If you look at my movement aspect, you know, from the last fight to that fight, those are, you know, I was wearing lead feet. You know, and when I rewatched that, I'm like, I'm not moving at all. I'm not advancing what I want to do. I'm not closing the distance the way that I need to. And those are also things that I'm working on as well, at Jackson. And, you know, I'm tired of talking. I just want to fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been that type of camp. And, you know, with a couple more weeks under my belt and the future that I see myself after talking with those guys and my coach, is really, the sky's the limit, you know, in my mind, right? It's the fact that now, you know, that's one of the things that Jackson and Wink looked at me and said, what do you want? I said, I want to be the best I can be, better than I was. You know I still have it in me. Can I get pushed there? And they both looked at me and smiled and said, we can push you there. You know, because here in Texas, I can't get pushed there, because if I spar with you once, you might not come back again. You know, if I do something, if we roll together, you might not come back again. And that's sort of the gist that I'm in. You know, but out there, you push somebody, guess what? They're going to push back. And then I'm going, oh, okay, I get to raise my level, and then they try to raise theirs, and then let's see who gets crumbled underneath the other person's level, right? The other person's mind that wants to fight. And that's one thing that I was, after the first day, I just looked at myself and said, yeah, this is what I needed. And, you know, my wife, she pretty much said, that's what you need. If you think that's where the best training is, then stay there and do your thing. And, you know, we'll move forward from there.
And also the fact that you'll be fighting at the iconic Madison Square Garden. Is this a bit of a milestone in your career? And what does it mean for you to be fighting at MSG?
It's been, you know, I've wanted to hit every famous spot that people have fought in. And I've been in some big time shows, but to be in Madison Square Garden finally, I'm super excited. You know, I remember watching, you know, one of my favorites is Rocky Marciano, and he's fought there. You know, Tyson, Holyfield, all these guys that I grew up watching fight. They've been there. They've done that. And to be able to step into that arena as a fighter, as a competitor, I'm just super excited. You know, of course, it doesn't matter whenever I'm fighting at. It doesn't matter where I'm fighting at. But the lead up is giving me a little bit of energy as well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I want to go out there and perform my best in that arena.
Yeah, and what better way to return, obviously, on a massive stack card like UFC 217, and you know, obviously a great main event, you know, featuring George St Pierre, a guy that you know very well. Are you sort of excited to see the return of GSP later on, you know, that night at UFC 217? Do you think you'll watch that fight?
I haven't even thought about it. You know, realistically, all I've been thinking about is myself, and no other card. To be honest with you. I try to do it the best I can, but actually this fight, I have done that. You know, I don't know who else is fighting on that card. I don't care who else is fighting on that card. All I care about is myself, and after that, then I can move forward.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're in for a pleasant surprise because there's a lot of fun fights on the card. As we let you go, Johnny, we want a prediction. UFC 217, Madison Square Garden. How do you see yourself winning?
You know what? Hey, I think y'all are going to be surprised with some of the stuff that I don't. It could go multiple ways. It really could. Working with Jackson and Wink, they brought out a couple of things that y'all aren't. For one, you've never seen. Mm-hmm. Two, that y'all are going to be excited to see again. And that's why I'm excited to fight. I'm excited to get in there and use these tools that have been long. They've been lost for a while.
Well, there you go, guys. I mean, we were already excited, but now we're even more excited. Johny Hendricks revitalized, training at, obviously, the world-famous JacksonWinkeljohns. You have to make sure to say hi to Tyson Pedro in the gym. Johnny, if you haven't already, he's a fellow Aussie and a really nice guy. Guys, don't forget to follow Johnny on Twitter at Johny Hendricks and Instagram. Of course, he's fighting Paulo Borrachinha at UFC 217 on November 4th in the iconic MSG Arena. Johnny, as always, pleasure chatting to you, and thank you so much for giving us the update. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, and y'all have a wonderful day.